Hey guys, this is Will from Monkey Steals Peach here, and in a video a few weeks ago I was talking about these big Kung Fu schools that cater specifically to foreigners and whether they're a rip-off or whether there's any real value in them. So for today's video I want to go to the other end of the spectrum and discuss what it's like training in an informal setting, in a more traditional setting with a teacher who isn't necessarily using martial arts to make a living. So I've been in China about 12 years now. I've trained with quite a few teachers, and by far the most common setting is for them to teach in a park or a public space, or sometimes just out the back of their own home. So that's what I'm going to discuss today. The first thing to consider with these kind of settings is that they're incredibly formal. Okay, so in the case of my own teacher, Zhou Jiandong, what would happen was he would run a public class in the park near his home in the mornings, and he would typically go down there about 6 a.m, start doing his own training, and one by one students would turn up. There was no fixed start or end to the session. There was no sort of organisation or structure to it. People would just come and go, in accordance with their own time, and they would pretty much do their own training. People would, as I say, come along, maybe chat a little bit, do some stretches and warm up, and then maybe go off and practice their basics or forms, or maybe partner up with someone and do some pair work. And our teacher would just go around and give people corrections as he saw fit. So with this in mind, with this sort of setup, as I said in the previous video, you have to be incredibly self-motivated. Okay? The people that come to the park, there's going to be the serious students, and there's going to be casual students, and sometimes there may be some kids as well who will usually be led by one of the senior students, and the main master probably won't involve with them very much. So it's really up to you to put in as much as you want to get out of training. Okay, now for a lot of people this isn't necessarily the most suitable way, because as Westerners we're used to structure, and we like a lot of structure in our lives, and we have a sort of consumer attitude where we think that, okay, we paid money, this is what we want to get. We want everything to be handed to us on a plate. But the Chinese mentality is very different, okay? And this stems far back in history. It's very rooted in the whole Chinese thought process. And that is that the position of the teacher and the student is very, very different. So in a Chinese way of thinking, the teacher is just there as a guide, okay? And the student at the same time has to prove themselves to the teacher, to prove that they're worthy of learning what the teacher has. So the teacher probably won't criticize you or scold you if you're slacking off. He'll just take it within his stride, may even just smile and laugh and say, no problem, don't worry about it. But he's going to hold back his teaching in that case. He's going to look at who can, as the Chinese say, eat bitter, which means to endure hardship. Which of the students can eat bitter the most? Which of them train the hardest? Which are the most dedicated? And then he will give a lot more attention to those students and push those students a lot harder. And in the case of my teacher, he will often invite the serious students back for a private session in the afternoon or something like that. So, a lot of the more advanced material or sort of other stuff will only be taught outside of this main park setting. And it's really up to you to prove yourself to be invited, to those private sessions to get that extra training. Another thing that people often sort of misunderstand with this is when you first start training with a teacher in this kind of setting, they usually just stick you in a corner somewhere, give you a couple of basics and leave you to your own devices. And a lot of people, they misunderstand and they think they're not welcome, so they just leave. But in actual fact, this is an initial sort of test. They want to see what you're made of. So it's up to you at this time to just take the little bit that you've been shown, no matter how basic and simple it is, and just drill the hell out of it. Just practice and practice and practice as much as you can, and get the teacher's attention. And then once the teacher sees, okay, this guy really knows how to train, he really knows his stuff, he's serious, that's when you'll really begin to start getting taught properly. Okay, so I hope it gave you a little insight into the other end of the spectrum with regards to training in China. The one I talked about last time, which was these great big commercial schools, and the other extreme, which is the small informal park setting. And as you probably saw in my video last week, I'll be going to Shaolin, to Henan province in June, to film a series on old styles of Shaolin, going around the villages around the temple and Dongfeng area. So if you'd like to support that, you can go to patreon.com/monkeystealspeech, and any donations would be very much appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe and comment below and let me know what your experiences are. If you've been to China and you've trained in China, how was it for you? Was it the same as I've said, or was there something different? Okay, thank you very much.